She laughed in front of a crowd, pointing to her broken Bentley and saying, "Fix this engine and I'll marry you." Everyone thought it was a joke, until the quiet black mechanic stepped forward, rolled up his sleeves, and said, "Challenge accepted." What happened next silenced the entire street and changed both of their lives forever. It was one of those warm, golden afternoons in downtown Manhattan, the kind where the sun reflects off skyscraper glass and the city buzzes with life. Taxis weaved in and out of traffic, business people rushed along the sidewalks, and street performers played violins in the corners. Everything was moving, except one car. Right in the middle of Fifth Avenue, a sleek silver Bentley sat dead. The engine had given out completely, blocking traffic. Horns blared. People shouted. But the driver inside remained completely calm, even amused. The door opened, and out stepped Vanessa Sterling. Not just anyone, but the Vanessa Sterling, CEO of Sterling Innovations, one of the top tech firms in the country. Her face was on magazine covers, her words quoted in business schools. With her sharp jawline, signature red blazer, black pencil skirt, and heels clicking confidently on the pavement, she looked more like a movie character than a real person. She didn't look embarrassed at all. If anything, she seemed entertained. As drivers leaned out of their windows to complain, she raised a single manicured hand and shouted, "Relax, it's just a Bentley, not the Empire State Building." People nearby began gathering around the luxury car. Some pulled out their phones to record what was happening. A few recognized Vanessa and started whispering, "That's her, right? The billionaire CEO?" Vanessa casually leaned against the hood, sunglasses perched on her head, and tapped her phone screen. "This engine needs a genius, not a grease monkey," she quipped loudly, hoping the crowd would laugh. And some did, but not everyone. Standing just a few feet away, outside a small auto repair shop tucked between two older buildings, was Marcus Bennett, a local mechanic. He wasn't flashy, and he didn't wear a fancy uniform. His faded blue work shirt was smudged with grease, and the rolled-up sleeves revealed arms marked by years of honest labor. Beside him stood a little girl, his 8-year-old niece, Amara, holding a juice box and watching the crowd curiously. Marcus had been watching quietly. He had seen the Bentley stall, seen Vanessa step out like she was on a runway, and now heard her joke. Vanessa noticed him too. Her eyes scanned the small group of onlookers, and then stopped when they landed on him. She smirked. "Well, look at that," she said, pointing at Marcus. "We've got ourselves a mechanic on the scene." Marcus said nothing. With a mocking smile, she added, loud enough for the crowd to hear, "Tell you what, if you can fix this engine, right here, right now, I'll marry you." Gasps and giggles rippled through the crowd. A teenage boy shouted, "Bro, marry her and become rich." An older man chuckled, "She's bluffin', son." Everyone expected Marcus to laugh it off like a joke, because that's all it was. Vanessa clearly didn't mean it. She was just flexing her power, making the moment into a little thing. But Marcus didn't laugh. He looked down at Amara, gently handed her a small wrench toy she liked to carry, then stepped forward. The crowd shifted, eyes now locked on him. Vanessa tilted her head. "Wait, are you serious?" Marcus gave a calm nod. Challenge accepted. A hush fell over the group. Even the taxi drivers stopped honking. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "You do realize this is a custom Bentley, right? German engineered. It's had more upgrades than my iPhone." Marcus simply replied, "An engine is still an engine. Doesn't matter what badge is on the hood." Vanessa blinked. Something in his tone, humble but firm, made her pause. For a split second, she wasn't the billionaire CEO with the upper hand. For a moment, she was just a woman staring at a man who didn't flinch at her power. Fine, she said, stepping aside. The hood's all yours. Amara sat down near the curb, swinging her feet as she whispered, "Go, Uncle Marcus." The crowd leaned in, phones ready, hearts curious. Nobody could have guessed that a simple bet in the middle of a busy New York street was about to change the lives of everyone standing there. Marcus walked slowly toward the Bentley, eyes focused, calm as a lake. His boots echoed faintly against the concrete, and the crowd instinctively stepped back, giving him space. He didn't need to raise his voice or make a show. His silence was powerful enough. Vanessa watched him closely now, arms folded, lips curled into a smirk. "You really think you're going to fix a hand-built, twin-turbo V8 engine on a New York street? With nothing but your toolbox and a prayer?" Marcus didn't reply. He didn't need to. Instead, he gently pulled out a small set of tools from a faded brown leather bag. Nothing fancy. These weren't chrome-plated or laser-engraved, just well-used, well-loved instruments of his trade. His hands, calloused, steady, and confident, moved with the ease of a man who had spent years listening to the heartbeat of broken machines. He popped the hood open. A collective ooh ran through the crowd as they glimpsed the inside of the engine. Wires everywhere. The average person would be lost. Even a professional might hesitate. But Marcus didn't blink. He took a deep breath, leaned in, and whispered softly, "Let's see what you're hiding." Vanessa raised her eyebrows. "You talk to cars now?" "I listen," he replied. He unplugged a few connectors, examined a snapped hose, tightened a loose valve. His movements were slow, thoughtful, like a doctor performing surgery, not a mechanic twisting bolts. Amara, sitting cross-legged on the sidewalk, clapped her hands gently. "He's gonna fix it." Someone nearby whispered, "Yo, is this guy for real?" Another said, "I've seen him fix a school bus engine in under 10 minutes. No joke." Vanessa overheard them and narrowed her eyes. For the first time, a tiny crack formed in her arrogant confidence. Marcus tapped lightly on the coolant pipe, then turned to a young man filming with his phone. "Can I borrow that pen in your pocket?" The guy looked confused, but handed it over. Marcus snapped the plastic clip off and used it to wedge a hose connection temporarily. The crowd gasped. This wasn't textbook. This wasn't polished. It was creative, raw, pure problem-solving. Vanessa crossed her arms tighter. "You're not actually doing this with a pen." Marcus shrugged slightly. "Sometimes the smartest solution isn't expensive. It's just clever." She went silent. 15 minutes passed. Marcus wiped his hands with a rag from his back pocket and stepped away from the engine. He didn't announce anything. He just looked at Vanessa and said quietly, "Try it now." The street went dead silent. Even the cabs paused, sensing the moment. The only sound was Amara sucking the last sip from her juice box. Vanessa looked at him, then at the Bentley. Slowly, she slid back into the driver's seat, placed both hands on the wheel, and turned the key. Click, then vroom. The engine roared to life. Smooth, powerful, perfect. The Bentley wasn't just running. It was purring like a panther. The dashboard lit up green. No warning signs, no hesitations. Gasps turned into applause. The crowd erupted. Someone shouted, "He did it!" Another screamed, "Yo, marry him now!" Phones were in the air. Cameras caught every second. Strangers cheered like it was the 4th of July. Vanessa sat there, stunned, her mouth slightly open, eyes wide. This man, this humble, quiet mechanic, had just done what multiple luxury garages couldn't. And he didn't even look surprised. He stepped back, wiped his hands again, and gave her a small nod. "You made a promise," he said with a half-smile. The crowd turned to Vanessa, waiting for her to respond. She stood frozen for a second, then slowly got out of the car. Her heels clicked awkwardly this time. She looked at him, then at Amara, then back at Marcus. She began, but words failed her. Marcus paused when he heard her voice behind him, firm, but not as sharp as before. "Wait," Vanessa said again, this time louder, her heels echoing on the street as she stepped toward him. The crowd, still buzzing with energy, fell silent. Everyone wanted to know what she would say. After all, it had been her words that lit the fuse. "If you fix this engine, I'll marry you." "What now?" Marcus turned around slowly, his niece Amara still holding his hand. The girl looked up at Vanessa with innocent curiosity, as if waiting for a fairy tale ending. Vanessa cleared her throat and tried to compose herself. She wasn't used to being speechless. She was a CEO, a boardroom commander. But something about this moment stripped that all away. "I was joking," she said finally. "You know that, right?" A few people in the crowd laughed uncomfortably. Others looked at Marcus, wondering how he would respond. He nodded. "Of course." Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "Then why'd you take it seriously?" He gave her a calm, measured look. "Because I don't think promises, joke or not, should be made lightly. And sometimes the ones people laugh at are the ones that end up mattering the most." That silenced even the gigglers in the crowd. Amara tugged on Marcus's sleeve and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Uncle, are you getting married?" A wave of laughter swept through the onlookers. Vanessa even cracked a genuine smile for the first time. "She's adorable," she said, kneeling slightly to meet Amara's eyes. "Do you always help your uncle fix cars?" Amara grinned. "I hold the juice box and the rag." Vanessa chuckled and stood back up. "Well, you do a great job." She looked back at Marcus and studied him. He wasn't showing off. He wasn't acting smug. There was something quietly powerful about the way he stood, with confidence, but not ego. Like a man who'd been underestimated 1,000 times and stopped caring long ago. "You really impressed me," Vanessa admitted. "That car has been in and out of shops for weeks. One guy even said I should scrap the engine entirely." Marcus shrugged. "They probably didn't listen." Vanessa tilted her head. "And you did. I always do. Every machine has a language. You just have to be patient enough to hear it." "Even people?" she asked, half teasing. Marcus smiled. "Especially people." There was a pause, not awkward, but thoughtful. The media crew that had arrived earlier now began filming from a distance, sensing something real was unfolding, something more than just a viral moment. One reporter whispered to her cameraman, "This is gold. Mechanic fixes CEO's car after marriage joke. Audience eats it up. Vanessa ignored the cameras for once. Her attention was on Marcus. "Okay," she said, brushing her hair back. "I'll admit, I misjudged you. Thought you were just another guy trying to look smart in front of a crowd." Marcus raised a brow. "And now?" She hesitated. "Now, I think you might be the smartest guy I've met who didn't go to Harvard." The crowd oohed playfully. A few clapped. Then Vanessa surprised everyone, even herself. She extended her hand. "Let's forget the marriage thing for a second. How about dinner?" The crowd gasped and broke into a cheer. Amara looked up at Marcus and whispered, "Say yes. Pretty girls don't ask twice." Marcus laughed softly, then glanced at Vanessa's hand before shaking it. "I don't fix engines for dates," he said calmly, then added with a playful smile, "But for a good conversation, sure." Vanessa's eyes lit up, caught somewhere between disbelief and interest. She had no idea this would be the most important flat tire of her life. The applause grew louder. Phones went up again. The moment was being shared across the city, and soon, across the internet. As Marcus walked away beside Vanessa, still holding Amara's hand, the crowd peed. The sun had dipped lower by now, casting long shadows across the city as the buzz of traffic resumed and the crowd began to thin. But the moment still lingered, the kind that doesn't just vanish when people walk away. Marcus, Vanessa, and Amara now stood outside a small cafe just a block away from the incident. No reservations, no security team, no press release. Just a table for 3 and 2 lemonades. Vanessa stirred hers slowly, her eyes studying Marcus like he was the most curious puzzle she'd never solved. "You didn't even hesitate," she said, her tone softer than before. "Not even for a second. Why?" Marcus took a sip and leaned back. "Because I've spent my whole life being told what I can't do, so I stopped waiting for permission." Vanessa nodded, intrigued. That's the kind of mindset we try to teach in leadership seminars. But you just live it. He gave her a small smile. "Not by choice. Life just didn't hand me many options." Amara slurped loudly on her straw and looked up. "Uncle Marcus says cars are like people. If you rush them or ignore their noises, they'll break." Vanessa chuckled, clearly enjoying Amara's wisdom. "That's actually pretty profound." Marcus nodded. "That Bentley didn't stop because it was broken. It stopped because it was ignored. Whoever worked on it last kept replacing parts without understanding the system. Same thing happens with people." Vanessa looked down, her expression changing. "I guess that applies to me too." She stared out the window for a moment, as if revisiting memories she hadn't unpacked in years. "I built a billion-dollar company, bought the house of my dreams, drove luxury cars. But today, for the first time, I felt small. A little bit out of control." "You weren't out of control," Marcus said gently. "You were just real." Silence filled the air between them again. This time, not awkward, just heavy with truth. "You know," Vanessa said thoughtfully, "I didn't always have money. I came from a rough neighborhood in Detroit. My mother cleaned houses to keep food on the table. When I made my first million, I swore I'd never be powerless again. I thought power meant never needing help." Marcus leaned forward. "Power isn't in avoiding help. It's in knowing when to ask for it and who to trust." Vanessa blinked, visibly moved. "Wow, you should write a book." He laughed. "Nah, books don't hold wrenches." Amara giggled beside him. "Uncle's never written anything except grocery lists." They all laughed together this time, not because it was polite, but because it felt natural, like something old breaking and something new starting in its place. Suddenly, Vanessa's phone buzzed. She checked the screen. 20-plus missed calls from her team, news alerts, and texts with headlines. "CEO's marriage bet goes viral. Mechanic who won over the internet." From Greece to greatness, who is Marcus Bennett? She sighed, putting the phone face down. So, the world knows. Marcus shrugged. They'll forget by tomorrow, or make memes. Vanessa smiled. You don't care about the fame? I care about Amara, and engines. That's enough for me. Vanessa leaned in. What if I told you I don't want to forget this? He looked into her eyes, direct, calm, unshaken. Then don't. Just then, Amara yawned and leaned on Marcus's arm. Can we go home, Uncle? Yeah, sweetheart, he said gently. Vanessa stood too. Where do you live? Brooklyn. I'll have my driver take you. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The same driver whose car broke down? She laughed, hands up. Fair. I deserved that. He smirked, then turned serious. You're not as bad as you pretend to be. And you're not as ordinary as people assume, she replied. They stood there for a moment longer. No one mentioned the marriage comment again. It wasn't necessary. Something else had been promised between them that day. Not in words, but in something more powerful. The evening air was cooler now, and the streets buzzed with a new energy. As Marcus, Amara, and Vanessa stepped out of the cafe, the once curious crowd had dispersed. But the story was far from over. Outside, a small group of teenagers passed by and did a double take. Hey, that's the guy from TikTok, one of them whispered. Marcus chuckled, shaking his head. 15 minutes of fame, huh? Vanessa smirked. Let's be honest. You earned every second of it. They stood beside the Bentley, now running perfectly thanks to Marcus's hands. Vanessa looked at the car for a long moment, then turned to him. You know, I didn't think anything would surprise me anymore, she said. But today, you did. He shrugged. I'm just a mechanic. She shook her head. No, you're a reminder that humility, skill, and heart still matter. That not everything valuable comes with a suit and a LinkedIn profile. Marcus didn't respond right away. He looked down at Amara, who was playing with a bolt she'd picked up earlier. Then he looked back at Vanessa. You may be the first CEO to say that out loud, he said quietly. Vanessa laughed. I've been called worse. He smiled. Not by me. They both stood in silence, not sure what to say next, until Amara, once again, filled the moment with her innocence. Are you gonna marry my uncle now? Vanessa burst into laughter. You don't give up, do you? Amara beamed. Nope. Marcus knelt beside her and whispered, Marriage doesn't happen in one day, sweetheart. But you said, she started. I know, Vanessa interrupted softly, and it was meant as a joke. But sometimes jokes tell us more truth than we realize. She paused, then continued seriously. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. I want to see you again, Marcus. Not as a dare, not as a joke, but as a real person. With potential, with value, with something I can't quite explain yet. He looked at her, eyes steady, voice calm. Then let's see where it goes. Vanessa smiled, not the confident, smirking CEO smile she was known for, but something gentler, something honest. I'd like that. Just then, her phone rang again. She glanced at the screen, sighed, and hit ignore. My board's probably panicking, she said with a grin. They're not used to me spending time with people who use pens to fix Bentleys. Marcus chuckled. Maybe that's what they need more of. She looked at him, and for the first time that day, she didn't feel above him. She felt beside him. As she climbed. Hey, Marcus. Yeah? If I break something again, will you be around? He nodded. Just don't break your word. She winked. No promises. And with that, the silver Bentley rolled smoothly down the street, turning heads once again, this time, not because it was expensive, but because it had a story behind it. Marcus stood there in the fading light, his hand resting on Amara's shoulder, watching the car disappear into traffic. Uncle, Amara said, tugging his shirt. "Does this mean we're rich now?" He laughed. "No, it means we're respected. That lasts longer." And as they walked home through the streets of Brooklyn, under the soft glow of street lamps, Marcus didn't feel like a viral sensation or a Cinderella story. He just felt like himself, a man who showed the world that dignity doesn't come from status. It comes from skill, kindness, and the courage to stand tall when no one expects you to.